Buenas tardes. Para la semana 4 escogí el artículo de investigación porque eh, pienso de que estos artículos de investigación lo que hacen es actualizarnos más en el tema de, obviamente, de las finanzas. No nos deja estar como, por decirlo de esta forma, desactualizados a los temas que uno lee, digamos, a nivel teórico. Entonces, estos artículos hacen de que eh, reaprendamos sobre lo que ya habíamos aprendido, pero con información que viene siendo muy vital y muy aplicable a la hora de nosotros desenvolvernos en esta área tan específica. Entonces, el artículo que escogí, el artículo is the impact of environmental, social, and governance rating disparities on corporate risk, the mediating role of financing constraints. The abstract is as global concerns over climate change and sustainable growth, environmental, social, and governance factors have become critical in evaluating corporate practices in China. The increasing adoption of ESG ratings by investors has highlighted discrepancies in these ratings, which may impact corporate risk. While extensive research exists on ESG performance, the effect of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk, particularly in Chinese enterprises, remain underexplored, especially the mediating role of financing constraints. Utilizing data from Chinese share-listed companies from 2015 to 2022, this study examines the impact of environmental, social, and governance rating disparities on corporate risk, focusing on the mediating role of financing constraints. The findings indicate that discrepancies in ESG ratings significantly increase corporate risk, particularly in non-state-owned enterprises and heavily polluting industries, while having no significant impact on a state-owned enterprise. Discrepancies in governance ratings exert the greatest impact on corporate risk, underscoring the critical role of corporate governance. Financial constraints further exacerbate the impact of rating discrepancies on corporate risk. These results provide new insights into enhancing the ESG rating system and mitigating corporate risk, offering a foundation for relevant policy making. Introduction. The deterioration of global climate conditions has significantly increased systemic risk in the global economy. To address this escalating challenge socially responsibly, investing has experienced rapid growth in recent years. ESG investments have surged from 6.5 trillion in 2006 to 121 trillion in 2021, reflecting the capital markets' heightened emphasis on sustainable development. With the rapid expansion of ESG investment, an increasing number of investors are relying on data from third-party rating agencies. These ratings exert a profound impact not only on asset prices and corporate development, but also play a pivotal role in corporate management and strategic planning. However, there are over 600 ESG rating agencies worldwide, and significant difference exists among their rating standards. An analysis by Berg et al. 2022 of the six major global ESG rating agencies showed that their rating correlations range from 0.33 0.38 to 0.71 indicate substantial rating disparities. These inconsistencies not only affect stakeholders' decisions but also include market uncertainty, which in turn impact corporate financial costs and operational risks. As an emergency, as an emerging market, China's expertise is even more pronounced ESG rating discrepancies. For instance, Qh Mountain, one of the highest valued companies of the China's a share market, received a string rating of AA and C plus simultaneously. Such rating disparities can undermine companies' motivation to improve their ESG performance and affect their sustainable development of both companies and the nation. The primary reason for disparities in ESG ratings stem from difference in the methodologies and metrics used by rating agencies. Furthermore, the manner in which companies disclose ESG information contributes to these discrepancies. For instance, more comprehensive reports can mitigate discrepancies, whereas ambiguous language can be exacerbate them. When ESG reports adhere to international disclosure standards or are subjected to third-party verification, rating disparities are significantly reduced. The existing literature extensively discusses the impacts of ESG, predominantly focusing on investment returns and the idiosyncrasies of ratings. However, research on the relationship between ESG rating disparities, disparities and corporate risk in relatively limited, particularly in unique market environments such as China. Consequently, exploring the specific impacts of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk and their mediating mechanisms is of considerable practical significance. This study analyzed data from Chinese share-listed companies between 2015 and 2022 to explore the relationship between ESG rating disparities and corporate risk, and to validate the mediating role of financing constraints, grounded in institution theory and agency theory. This research examines how ESG rating disparities influence corporate financial risk through their impact on financing constraints. The findings reveal the complex mechanisms by which ESG rating disparities affect corporate risk within the specific cultural and institutional context of China, particularly through the mediating pathways of financing constraints. Specifically, ESG rating disparities significantly increase corporate risk by exacerbating financing constraints. This study provides empirical support for understanding the relationship between ESG rating disparities and corporate risk, offering valuable insights and recommendations for policymakers and corporate managers. The structure of the article is as follows. Section 2 reviews the theoretical framework and proposes research hypotheses. Section 3 describes the research design and methodology. Section 4 presents the empirical results and robustness tests. And finally, Section 5 concludes the study and offers recommendations. 2. Theoretical framework and hypothesis development. Theoretical, theoretical, theoretical background. This study employs signally theory and agency theory to delve into the impact of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk. These theoretical frameworks provide a solid foundation for exploring the complex relationship between ESG ratings and corporate financial performance. Signaling theory explains how companies convey information to influence the behavior and decisions of stakeholders in markets chart- characterized by information asymmetry. From this perspective, ESG ratings serve as a critical signal to the market, reflecting a company performance in governance, social responsibility, and environmental protection. High-quality ESG ratings can effectively reduce information asymmetry, boosting investors and stakeholders' confidence in a company's future performance. However, significant disparities in ESG ratings may lead to varied interpretation of a company's ESG performance, influencing the behavior of investors and other stakeholders, thereby increasing capital costs and potentially lowering market valuation. Agency theory examines the issues arising from goal misalignment and information asymmetry between shareholders, principals, and management agents within corporate governance structures. When ESG performance becomes a standard for performance evaluation, this, theory, this theor- theoretical framework helps explain potential conflicts of interest between management and stakeholders. Management may strategically greenwash ESG reports to enhance the company's external image in response to social responsibility pressures or to achieve short-term goals. Although such actions might temporarily improve market perception, they can severely undermine stakeholder trust if exposed, leading to increased legal risk and damaging the company's brand reputation and investor relations. Market distrust could extend to questioning the company's financial transparency, escalating operational uncertainties, and external regulatory risks. These complexities highlight the need for a more transparent and consistent ESG evaluation system to address the agency issues arising from information asymmetry and rating inconsistencies. 2.2 Hypothesis Development. ESG rating disparities and corporate risk. ESG ratings as quantitative indicators of corporate sustainability information disclosure aim to reduce information asymmetry, helping investors and other stakeholders gain a clearer understanding of a company's ESG performance, thereby lowering corporate risk and enhancing market trust. However, significant difference in evaluation methods and standards among various ESG rating agencies can lead to divergent interpretation of the same companies. ESG performance. These inconsistencies can increase corporate capital costs and by exacerbating market uncertainty negatively impact market valuation. ESG rating disparities can trigger a series of chain reactions. First, when a company ESG signal deviates from market expectations or other companies perform, these disparities may raise investors' doubts, reducing confidence in the company future performance. Additionally, rating disparities can mislead investors, increasing market volatility and affecting financial stability and long-term development. From an agency theory perspective, management might engage in greenwash to artificially enhance ESG ratings to meet market pressures or short-term objectives. While this might boost market evaluation in the short term, it can lead to severe stakeholder skepticism about the company's governance quality and integrity if discovered. This skepticism can increase legal risk, damage brand reputation, and strain investors' relationships. Market distrust could extend to financial transparency, increased operational uncertainties, and external regulatory risk. Based on this analysis, it proposed the following hypotheses. Hypothesis 1. ESG rating disparities positively affect corporate risk, meaning the greater the inconsistency in ratings, the higher the corporate risk. Financing constraints and ESG rating disparities. Financing constraints refer to the difficulties or limitations a company faces in obtaining external funding. These constraints can have a positive impact on a company's ESG management. Specifically, when a company experiences financing constraints, it may prioritize allocating its limited resources to environment management and social responsibility projects to strengthen external investors' confidence. As investors increasingly focus on a company's sustainability performance, companies may seek to enhance their ESG ratings to signal their commitment to sustainable development. Moreover, financial constraints can encourage companies to be more proactive in internal governance. When access to capital is limited, companies must rely on more efficient governance practices to reduce the cost of capital. Effective governance not only demonstrates a company's ability to manage risk and purpose sustainably grow, but it also reduces subjective discrepancies among rating agencies when evaluating governance dimensions. This, in turn, helps to minimize ESG rating disparities between different agencies. Based on this analysis, the following hypothesis is proposed. Hypothesis, hypothesis 2. Financing constraints have a negative impact on ESG rating disparities, meaning that the higher financing constraints, the smaller the ESG rating disparities. 2.2.3. The mediation role of financing constraints. Corporate credit ratings are commonly used to assess a company's ability to repay its debt, with higher credit ratings typically indicating lower borrowing risk. Similarly, strong ESG ratings are considered key factors in enhancing a company's attractiveness to green investors. Excellent ESG performance not only signifies a company commitment to environmental and social responsibilities, but also helps attract investors and capital that prioritizes sustainable development. Therefore, improving ESG rating can effectively alleviate financing constraints, enhance market competitiveness, and strengthen a company's sustainable development capabilities will reduce bankruptcy risk. However, disparities in ESG ratings can present challenges to corporate financing strategies. ESG ratings, which are intended to reduce information asymmetry, may instead increase the cost for investors when evaluating ESG projects due to inconsistent information from different rating agencies. In such cases, capital providers may demand higher risk premium, thereby increasing financing constraints for companies. Moreover, discrepancy in ESG ratings may lead market participants to focus more on potential negative information about companies, exacerbating concerns about their future operation and growth potential. This heightened scrutiny can weaken trust from capital providers and increase financial pressure on companies. Therefore, it proposed the following hypothesis. Hypothesis 3. Financial constraints significantly mediate the relationship between ESG rating, discrepancies, and corporate bankruptcy risk. 3. Research methodology. 3.1. Sample selection and data source. This study selects Chinese share list companies from 2015 to 2022 as the research sample with data concerned from the ESMAR, Bloomberg, and Wind database to ensure the reliability of the research data. Several filtering steps were applied. First, companies from the financial sector were excluded due to their distinct financial structure and regulatory requirements. Next, especially treated companies, which often indicate firms facing financial distress or undergoing restructuring, were removed to avoid potential bias. For missing data, key variables with substantial missing values were excluded from the sample to mitigate the effect of outliers and extreme values that could distort the results. All continuous variables were winsorized at 1% and 99% levels. After these adjustments, the final sample size consisted of 6,762 observations. The data was then the subject to a statistical analysis using Stata 16 software to ensure rigorous evaluation of the hypothesis. 3.2 Variable definition and measurement. 3.2.1 Depend variable financial risk. Following the study by Geese et al. 2019, this research measures corporate risk using the Allman C-score and indicator development by Allman to predict financial distress and potential bankruptcy risk. The C-score integrates multiple financial ratios to assess a company financial health, and the specific formula is as follows. Um, this is the formula, and these were X1 working capital total assets, X2 retained earnings, X3 EBIT total assets, X4 market value of equity book, and value of total liabilities, and X5 sales total assets. 3.2.2 Independent variable ESG disparity. To comprehensively analyze the disparities in ESG ratings, this study selects international recognized Bloomberg ESG ratings and China's local Waseng ESG ratings. Both provide composite and individual scores from the environmental, social, and governance dimensions, ranking from 0 to 100. Following the methodology at Gibson, ESG rating disparity is calculated using the coefficient of variation to reflect the dispersion rating results. Mm, this is the formula, and where ESG represents the ESG rating of the company in the year, and mean ESG and ESG are the mean and the standard deviation of all ratings in that year, respectively. 3.2.3 Mediating variable. This study introduced financial constraints to explore its mediating role between ESG rating disparities and corporate risk. Financial constraint refers to difficulties and company faces in obtaining external funds and are commonly used to evaluate a company's financial environment and the ease of accessing external capital. This study used the ESA index processed by Hadlock and Pierce to measure financing constraints. The ESA index reflects the financing constraint based on the company's size and age, calculated as follows. This is the formula where size is the natural logarithm of the company's total assets and age is the number of years the company has been in operation. A smaller ES, a smaller SA index value indicates more severe financing constraints. 3.2.4 Control variables. But based on prior research, this study controls for variables that may influence corporate risk. These include market value, MV, shareholder balance, shareholder balance, SHA, management shareholding ratio, MGT, board size, BOA, proportion of independent directors in art, proportion of women in management, audit fees, profitability, adoption of GRI standards, and type of accounting firm. Accounting firm. The definition and measurement summary of these variables are shown in the table 1. 3.3 Empirical model. The, the systematically to systematically to systematically explore the impact of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk, this study establishes a series of regression models based on the research hypothesis and variable settings. The basic model is constructed as follows. This is the formula where I represents the company, T represents the year, control includes various control variables. Um, Theta represents fixed effects to control for tiny variant characteristics, and E represents is the random error term to test the relationship between financing constraints and ESG rating disparities. This study establishes the following regression model. This is the formula. For the mediating effect analysis of financing constraints, this study adopts a two-stage regression model. In the first stage, it explores the relationship between ESG disparities and financing constraints. This is the formula. In the second stage, it values the mediating role of financing constraints between ESG disparities and corporate risk. This is the formula where to indicate the size of the mediating effect of financing constraints. Empirical results. 4.1 Descriptive statistics. Table 2 present the descriptive statistics of the main variables. The mean value of the corporate risk CITA score is 5.196 with a standard deviation of 11.39 ranging from minus 4.825 to 74.02 indicates significant difference in the financial health of the sample companies. The average ESG rating disparities is 0.384 with a standard deviation of 0.0979, ranging from 0.0322 to 0.779, suggesting substantial difference in ESG rating among the sample firms. This indicates varying evaluation of different companies. ESG performance potentially affecting the decision of investors and other stakeholders. The mean value of financial constraints is minus 3.853 with a standard deviation of 0.292, reflecting the difficulties faced by the sample companies in obtaining funds. Higher financial constraints imply greater challenge in accessing capital markets, which can impact normal operation and long-term development. 4.2 Regression result analysis. Table, Table 3 provides the detailed regression results. Column 1 shows the ESG rating disparities as a significant positive impact of corporate risk. Supporting hypothesis 1, they indicate that greater ESG rating disparities are associated with the higher financial distress risk for companies, specifically ESG rating. Disparities may increase market uncertainty and investor skepticism, raising capital costs and financial difficulties, ultimately increasing financial risk. This result can be understood through signaling theory, which posits that companies use ESG rating as signal to convey their commitment to sustainability and responsibility management to stakeholders. When there are discrepancies in these ratings, it creates uncertainty among stakeholders regarding the firm's true performance and intentions, ultimately increasing the risk of bankruptcy as confidence. This is the table 2. Table 3. Confidence. Column 2 shows a significant positive relationship between ESG rating disparities and financial constraints, which contradicts hypothesis 2. This suggests that although theoretical financial constraints should encourage companies to improve the consistency of their ESG ratings, in practice, financing constraints could exacerbate agency problems where management makes short-term decisions that are detrimental to the company's long-term growth. When a company faces financial difficulties, the increased challenge of securing external funds may prompt it to engage in greenwashing to quickly boost investor confidence. In such cases, companies may overstate their efforts in environmental, social, and governance practices, while actual improvements and investments may fall short. The gap the companies between a company's real ESG performance and what it publicly claims can lead to differing interpretation and assessments by rating agencies, which in turn increase ESG rating disparities. Financial constraints E- Financial constraint SIA mediates the relationship between ESG disparities and corporate risk. Columns 3 and column 4 show that ESG disparities significantly possibly affect financing constraints, and financing constraints significantly negatively affect corporate financial health. Supporting hypothesis 3, this suggests that financial fina- this suggests that financing constraints play a significant mediating role, suggesting that companies should carefully manage their financial resources to mitigate the risks associated with ESG rating discrepancies. This is particularly relevant in the context of agency theory, which highlights the conflict of interest between shareholders and management. Companies that fail to align their ESG practices with stakeholders' expectations may face financing constraints as investors become wary of potential mismanagement and seek to limit their exposure to financial instability. 4.3 Robustness Test. To ensure the reliability of the research findings, this study conducted a series of robustness tests first based on the study bilateral. The one-period legged ESG disparity is used as an alternative independent variable. Column 1, column 1 of table 4 indicates that the one-period legged ESG disparity still shows a significant positive impact on corporate risk. This further confirms the temporal continuity of the impact of ESG disparity on corporate risk, implying that current ESG rating disparities significantly influence future financial risk. Second, following the methodology of Alves, this study employed the Merton distance to default model as an alternative dependent variable with data obtained from the CSMAR database. Merton DD is a widely used measure in credit risk modeling, which estimates the probability of a firm's default by assessing the distance between a firm's asset value and its default thresh- thresh- threshold. Column 2 of Table 4 shows that when Merton DD is used in place of the C score, the table for the coefficient of ESG disparity slightly decrease, decrease but remains significantly compared to the robustness of the original result. This indicates that the positive impact of ESG disparity on corporate risk persists even when different measures of financial distress are utilized. Additionally, following Liu, this study expanded the data source for calculating ESG disparity by incorporating WIN ESG ratings. The mean and standard deviation are recalculated using Bloomberg ESG ratings, China Security ESG ratings, and WIN ESG ratings to obtain a new ESG disparity indicator. Column 3 of Table 4 demonstrates that the impact of the new ESG disparity remains significant and the coefficient slightly increased, indicating that the conclusion regarding the impact of ESG disparity on corporate risk is robust across the different data sources. 4.4 Endogenate test. To address potential endogenate issues, this study employs an instrumental variable approach. Following Benjamin and Bitar, the average ESG scores of other listed companies within the same province are used as instrumental variables. The rationale for choosing this instrument is that while the average ESG scores of other companies in the same province may correlate with the target company's ESG scores, they do not directly affect the target company's financial risk. Table 5 presents the regression results using ordinary least squares on two-stage least squares to examine the impact of ESG disparity on corporate financial risk and to validate the appropriateness of handling endogeneity. As shown in column 1 of table 5, the OLS model result indicate a significant positive correlation between ESG disparity and corporate financial risk, meaning that the greater the disparity in ESG scores, the higher the financial risk faced by the company. Column 2 of Table 5 shows the first stage result of the 2SLS model, where the average ESG scores of other listed companies within the same province are used to predict ESG disparity. Their results indicate that this instrumental variable is highly correlated with ESG disparity, confirming confirming its validity as an instrument. Column 3 of Table 5 shows the second stage regression results, where after considering endogeneity, the impact of ESG disparity on corporate financial risk remains significant and the coefficient increases, further strengthening the impact of ESG disparity on corporate risk. This indicates that after addressing endogeneity using the instrument variable method, the positive impact of ESG disparity on corporate financial risk becomes more evident, validating the robustness and reliability of the research findings. 4.5. The impact analysis. The impact analysis of ESG subdimension disparities to further investigate the specific impact of rating disparities across different ESG dimensions on corporate risk. This study adopts the approach of TANG, utilizing, utilizing rating disparities in three subdimensions of ESG: environmental rating disparity, social rating disparity, and governance rating disparity, and compares them with overall ESG rating disparities. The regression analysis in Table 6 reveals that the impact of rating disparities across these three dimensions on corporate risk varies significantly. As shown in column 1, the coefficient for environmental rating disparity is relatively low. This suggests that although some environment issues such as greenhouse gas emissions and wastewater discharge can be quantified and standardized, their direct impact on corporate risk is relatively limited. This may be because environment risks are more long-term and have a smaller short-term impact. Additionally, some companies may not be involved in activities that lead to significant environmental pollution or wastewater discharge, thus reducing the overall impact. Issues on environmental issues on the sample. The social dimension often involves more direct interactions with stakeholders, such as employee relations, community engagement, and corporate governance practices, which can have more immediate repercussions on a company's risk profile. Therefore, the impact of social rating disparity is slightly higher than the environmental rating disparity. This reflects the higher sensitivity of social responsibility in the public eye and its direct impact on corporate reputation and consumer trust, which can quickly translate into financial risk. This indicates that social rating disparities can more directly affect a company's market performance and short-term financial status. Among the three ESG dimensions, governance rating disparity has the most significant impact on corporate risk. Research, research by Gibson indicates that corporate governance ratings usually do not exhibit disparities among rating agencies because governance factors are more clearly defined and directly relate to internal corporate structures and operations, making them easier to quantify and standardize than environmental and social responsibility dimensions. Therefore, when disparities in governance ratings occur, their negative impact on the company is usually the most severe, and governance issues directly affect the core operation and strategic decisions of a company, leading to extreme market reaction. Consequently, consequently, companies need to pay particular attention to governance rating disparities and promptly address related issues to mitigate associated risk. 4.6. Heterogeneity analysis. To further explore the impact of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk across different types of enterprises, this study conducted a heterogeneous analysis by categorizing state-owned enterprises and non-state-owned enterprises, as well as heavily polluting industries and non-polluting industries. The study reveals the specific effects of ESG rating disparities in this distinct context. According to the results in column 1 and 2 of table 7, the impact of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk in state-owned enterprise is smaller. The is smaller enterprises is smaller and is statistically insignificant. Insignificant. This outcome is likely related to the unique position of um, SOS in the Chinese market and the strong support they receive from the government. SOS often benefits from robust governmental backing and financial assistance, which can buffer the effects of negative market perception reflected in their ESG ratings. For instance, even if its SOS experience negative ESG rating disparities, the risk of bankruptcy may be mitigated by government intervention or financial aid. Additionally, ESG rating agencies may not fully account for the distinctive governance activities of SOS, such as the role of party organization structures, which are not always captured by standardized international ESG frameworks. As a result, ESG rating disparities may have a limited impact of the bankruptcy risk of SOS. In contrast, for non-SOS, the impact of ESG rated disparities on corporate risk is significant and more pronounced. Non-SOS lacking direct government support rely heavily on market trust and reputation management. Disparities in ESG rating can substantially influence market evaluation of non-SOS, affecting their financial costs, stock price, volatility, and overall competitiveness. Therefore, ESG rating disparities may lead to hate, heightened market uncertainty for non-SOS. When facing such disparities, non-SOS must carefully balance the expectation of various stakeholders, including shareholders, suppliers, customers, and regulators. Large ESG rating disparities can erode stakeholders' trust in non-SOS, damaging their market reputation and increasing the risk of bankruptcy. The results in column 3 and 4 indicate that regardless of wherever a company operates in a heavily polluting industry, ESG rating disparities significantly increase bankruptcy risk. However, the impact is notably stronger in heavily polluting industries, suggesting that these industries are more vulnerable to the negative effects of ESG rating disparities due to their potential environmental harm. Heavily polluting industries face stricter regulations and higher compliance requirements. ESG rating disparities may signal deficiencies in these companies' environmental responsibilities, leading to increased regulatory costs, penalties, and compliance risk, all of which contribute to higher bankruptcy risk. While the ESG rating disparities also significantly affects firms in non-polluting industries, the impact is relatively smaller in non-polluting industries. ESG rating disparities still significantly increase bankruptcy risk. but the effect size is much lower compared to heavily polluting industries. Non-polluting industries face less stringent environmental regulations. So while ESG rating disparities do pose bankruptcy risk, the regulatory pressures are lower and thus the associated risks are smaller. Additionally, since the environmental impact of non-polling industries is relatively minor, disparities in ESG ratings may result in lower operational risk and compliance costs for the firms. 5. Conclusion and recommendations. This study based on data from China's share list companies from 2015 to 2022 provides in a deep analysis of the impact of ESG rating disparities on corporate risk with a focus on the mediating role of financing constraints. The findings reveal that ESG rating disparities significantly increase corporate financial risk, particularly in non-state owned enterprise and heavily polluting industries, specifically non-SOS and heavy polluting industries exhibit higher sensitivity to ESG rating. These parties indicate that these firms face greater financial risk when confronted with rating discrepancies. Based on on this result, the following recommendations are proposed. First recommendation: promote the establishment of unified ESG rating standards and disclosure requirements. Policymakers should promote the creation of unified ESG rating standards and disclosure requirements to reduce rating disparities in the market and improve the overall quality of ratings. ESG rating agencies should be required to regu- regularly publish white papers detailing their rating methodologies, indicators, weightings, data source, and calculation methods. This level of transparency will enable both companies and investors to better understand their ratings and mitigate risks associated with rating disparities. Additionally, it is recommended to establish an industry association responsibly for overseeing and fostering healthy competition among rating agencies. This association will also organize training sessions and workshops to elevate the overall industry standards, ensuring that all agencies adhere to relevant regulations. 2. Strong policy support for non-SOS and heavy polluting in industries. The government should provide more policy support and guidance to non-SOS and heavily polluting industries to help these enterprises improve their ESG performance and reduce their operational risk. Specific measures may include providing financial incentives, technical support, and regulatory guidance. 3. En- 3. Encourage investment in green technologies and sustainable development projects. Enterprises should increase their investment in green technologies and sustainable development projects to mitigate the financial risks associated with ESG rating disparities. Investing in green technologies and sustainable projects can improve a company's ESG performance and enhance its market competitiveness and long-term sustainability. 4. Develop customized ESG practice strategies. Companies should tailor their ESG practice strategies according to their characteristics and industry backgrounds, especially for non-SOS and less polluting industries. Innovating ESG practices should be adopted to achieve higher corporate value. Companies can can improve their ESG performance by enhancing internal governance structures, optimizing resource allocation, and increasing transparency. Despite the significant findings, this study can some simulations 1K 1K limitation lies in the range of ESG rating agencies used to calculate rating disparity. This study only includes data from two domestic Chinese ESG rating agencies and one international ESG rating agency. Future research should explore the applicability of these results in other emerging markets where multiple local ESG rating agencies are emerging alongside established international agencies. Rating discrepancies between local and international agencies could similarly impact corporate risk, especially in countries where stakeholder decisions are influenced by these rating disparities. Furthermore, future studies should focus on the difference in evaluation criteria, weightings, and models used by international and local ESG rating agencies when assessing specific firms. For instance, in China, local ESG often emphasizes factors like the party leadership of state-owned enterprises, which is not considered by international ESG rating agencies. Understanding the impact of such region-specific criteria on corporate risk could be an important direction for future research, exploring the difference in ESG ratings applicability to various types of firms, such as state-owned versus non-state-owned enterprises, will also provide deeper insights into the nuances of ESG rating systems and their effects of financial risk. Em, listo. Básicamente, este artículo lo que trata o lo que investiga son las disparidades en las calificaciones de factores ambientales, sociales y de los gobiernos. ¿Qué son esas disparidades? Disparidades son esas como desigualdades económicas. Entonces, ¿qué nos dice este artículo? Que, que los hallazgos pues, que indican esas inconsistencias en esas calificaciones, porque son en realidad el ESG es como em, básicamente son como unas evaluaciones que miden el desempeño de una empresa en materia de sostenibilidad, ya pues en el ámbito ambiental, social y a nivel pues como gubernamental. También se le conocen pues como ratings de sostenibilidad. Pero entonces, ¿qué es lo que evalúa esas ESG? Mide o califica lo que son las emisiones de dióxido de carbono, la eficiencia en el uso de recursos naturales, la atención, pues lo que viene siendo el cambio climático, todo lo que viene siendo con la biodiversidad, la seguridad alimentaria y la igualdad de género. Entonces, em, básicamente estas disparidades en las calificaciones pues, de la ESG, lo que pasa es que pueden aumentar significativamente el riesgo corporativo. Entonces esos riesgos corporativos em, se ve pues a varios, pues como ahí indican que son varios factores. Entonces uno es que es el aumento de la incertidumbre en el mercado, entonces que dice que las diferencias pues significativas en esas calificaciones entre esas agencias pueden generar dudas pues como entre los inversionistas y, y en, pues, y en otras partes que estén interesadas en cuanto al verdadero desempeño de, pues como de esas compañías. Entonces eso lo que hace es que reduce pues la confianza en, pues como a futuro. Y esa incertidumbre puede pues conducir a una mayor volatilidad en el mercado y afectar la estabilidad financiera a largo plazo pues de la empresa. Otra sería el incremento pues de los costos de capital. Entonces esas inconsistencias en las calificaciones pueden aumentar los costos para los inversores al evaluar esos proyectos pues del ESG, lo que lleva a los proveedores de a esos proveedores a exigir mayores, pues en cuanto mayores, pues mayores, como primas de riesgo, incrementando así pues como las restricciones financieras para la empresa. También está el riesgo de lavado verde, ahí decían el greenwash o greenwashing, que las empresas pueden verse tentadas pues a mejorar artificialmente sus calificaciones para poder pues como cumplir con las presiones del mercado o esos objetivos a corto plazo. Y si se descubre pues que una empresa está incurriendo pues en ese lavado verde, puede sufrir un grave escepticismo por parte pues de las partes interesadas o esos inversionistas, lo que puede aumentar los riesgos legales y pues obviamente dañar la reputación de esa compañía. También está lo que es em, lo de mayor escrutinio y desconfianza del mercado, que ya pues lo que viene siendo las disparidades en las calificaciones pueden llevar a los participantes pues, del mercado a centrarse más en la información negativa, pues, esa información negativa pues sobre esas compañías. Mm, También habla sobre las industrias que son altamente contaminantes, que estas industrias son pues como más vulnerables a los efectos negativos de las disparidades en esas calificaciones de ESG, debido pues a que su potencial pues en cuanto al daño ambiental, eh, enfrentan pues como unas regulaciones más estrictas y con mayores requisitos en cuanto al cumplimiento. Esas pues disparidades en las calidades EG pueden señalar pues deficiencias en las responsabilidades ambientales de esas empresas, lo que lleva pues a esos mayores costos para poder regular esas sanciones y esos riesgos de cumplimiento, em, incurriendo pues a que haya mayores riesgos en cuanto a la quiebra. Em, Entonces, para mitigar pues estos riesgos, el estudio pues de este artículo propone pues como varias recomendaciones, y es básicamente que promover pues como el establecimiento de esas normas de calificaciones ESG y requisitos de divulgaciones unificados. También fortalecer el apoyo político a las empresas no estatales y a las industrias altamente contaminantes, fomentar la inversión en tecnologías verdes y proyectos de desarrollo sostenible, y pues obviamente desarrollar pues esas estrategias de práctica ESG más personalizadas para no incurrir tanto en esos malos puntajes o en esos ratings de baja sostenibilidad de esas compañías. Muchas gracias.